you've ever had an idea for a calculator, a landing page, or an interactive widget that got stuck in the engineering roadmap, this video is for you. This is a working ROI calculator. It's branded, it's interactive, and all of it was built through a conversation that a marketer can have with Claude Code. I'm going to show you how to build and ship yours in about 15 minutes. By the end of this video, you'll have a working branded calculator that you can put on your website or send to a prospect. All right, let's get set up. To get started, download the Claude desktop app and install it. You can find it here on this page. I'll download for Mac for OS. And you're going to need a Claude Pro plan for this. Now, when you go to Claude Code, it might get this pop-up that says install Git. That Git is required to run local sessions, and it shows you the way to install it for your computer. If you're on Mac, you want to open up your terminal app and type in xcode-select and then space -- install. If you are on Windows, go ahead and click the download Git button, and that's going to show you how to install it on Windows. It's a bit easier there. But Git is just a developer tool that we need. We're not going to get into exactly what it is or why we need it in this video, but it will be the topic of a different video. But we just need that to run Claude Code because it uses it under the hood. Open up Claude, and here is the Code tab. We can create a new session, and here is our chat box, just like any other LLM AI tool. Now, one big difference is that I get to choose a folder that I get to work in. This is the working directory. So I'm going to click this and choose Open Folder, and I'm going to go to Desktop, and I'm going to create a new folder here called ROI Calculator. And once I've done that, I'm going to choose it, and it should say ROI Calculator right here. That's going to be the working directory that we use for this project. Now, before we tell you, hey, build my ROI calculator, we're going to set up one file. This is an important concept in Claude Code, and it's the foundation of every build we'll do on this channel. It's called CLAUDE.md. Here's what it is. CLAUDE.md is a file that lives in your project folder. Every time you start a new session in this folder, Claude reads it automatically before doing anything else. Think of it like a creative brief you hand to a freelancer before they start working, except this freelancer never loses the brief and never forgets to read it. For this video, we're pretending we work at a company called Gridwell. Gridwell makes project management software for marketing teams. Our tagline is stop drowning in status updates. That's the brand we're building this calculator for. You build the calculator for your brand if you want. So we're going to tell Claude about it. So I say create a CLAUDE.md file for this project. The brand is Gridwell. I say what our primary color and secondary color is, and I give the audience and the tone, and now I can click enter. Yes, I trust this workspace. It says it created the CLAUDE.md file, and if we look over here in files, we can see this CLAUDE.md file. And yes, this is what we are looking for. It has our visual identity, our writing guidelines, all this stuff. It's nothing fancy, it's just plain text describing our brand. Now, every time we ask Claude to build something in this folder, it already knows our colors, our audience, and our tone. We don't have to repeat ourselves every time. So watch this. I'm going to create a new session. I'm going to ask what brand are we working on and what are our brand colors. And because we are in the same folder and we have that CLAUDE.md file, it already knows. That's because the new session read CLAUDE.md the moment it started. Once it's set up, you get to use it forever. Two quick rules before we move on, because this file is so important to get right. Rule 1, only include what Claude can't figure out on its own. Don't dump your entire brand guidelines document in here. Claude doesn't need you to tell it, write clean code or use proper HTML. It already knows that. What it can't know is your specific brand colors, your company name, your audience, and the rules that are unique to you. That's the stuff that goes in Claude.md. Rule 2, keep it short. If this file gets too long, Claude actually starts ignoring parts of it. Think of it like giving a contractor a 30-page brief versus a one-pager. The one-pager gets followed, the 30-pager gets skimmed. Same idea here. Now we're going to create a new session, and we get to describe exactly what we want to build. Most people's instinct here is to try to write one perfect prompt that covers everything, but don't do that. Here's a much better move. Check this out. I say, I want to build an interactive ROI calculator for the Gridwell website. I say what I should do, and then I say, interview me about what it should include with multiple choice questions one at a time. Ask me about the inputs, the outputs, the design, and anything I might not have thought of. Don't build it yet. Okay, so I get my first question. It says, what should the calculator primarily quantify for the user? I'm gonna go with money saved. You do whatever you want for your calculator. If this is a project that you're doing for real, then obviously do it the way that you want it to be done, or just, your personal preference. How many inputs should the calculator ask for? So here we can go from minimal 2 to 3. I'm gonna try moderate. Let's go for 4 to 6. It says, which set of inputs should we collect? Team focused, tool focused, balanced, or pain point driven? I'm gonna go with this balanced option. You are gonna have different questions and different phrased questions than I am, just so you know, but you're gonna have, similar things, I'm sure. Go ahead and make the decisions that make sense for you. It asks, what savings assumption should the calculator use for hours reclaimed? I'm just gonna go with this middle of the road moderate option here. It asks, how should the result be displayed? Single hero number and breakdown, hero number, breakdown, reframings. This is the recommended one, so I'm just gonna go with that for mine. What interaction pattern should the calculator use? Single page, live updating, that's recommended, and it's also what I want. I'm gonna go with the recommended option here. It says what input controls should be used. Mixed, sounds good to me. But you see, as we continue to answer these, how much precision we're getting out of this interview. So for me, it asks what visual aesthetic it should use. Hopefully it's gonna use the brand colors, bold and vibrant, but on brand with the Claude.md brand colors. I'm trying to remind it that there's that Claude.md file that has our brand colors in case it forgets. It did read that file at the beginning, but as time goes on, it might not have that in mind. All right, what should the calculator ask the user to do after seeing the result? I'm gonna say 2 CTAs, demo, and start free trial. Mine asks, should the calculator support saving or sharing the result? I'm gonna say shareable URL. Working with email is going to be really complicated. Don't do email for this, just to make sure that your demo is up and running. Download as PDF would work, but I'm gonna do a shareable URL because that should work just fine. I'm gonna say that I want it to show its math, but underneath, and I want it to be pre-populated with realistic defaults for a typical team. I'm gonna go with the good recommended option here for showing what Gridwell itself costs. And Gridwell has a pricing model of per seat monthly, we're gonna say. And I'm gonna say that it is a $15, or let's go with 12. Let's give me that option. And it's gonna ask what surrounds the calculator on the page. There's gonna be a calculator and a brief intro, that's about it. And this is an important question. What should the calculator be built with? We only need a single HTML file with vanilla JS and CSS. If you have something like this where it just says single HTML file, this is what we want. It's the easiest to ship, easiest to embed, recommended for a marketing page widget. This is perfect. So go ahead and choose that. All right, and there is the specifications, also known as the spec. Now, before you're done, go ahead and read through this, double check everything, and you can just ask for any changes that you want done before we get started. So now Claude has all the info it needs. It has this spec, and a spec defines what to build, but we don't want it to build yet because there's one more step that's gonna save us a lot of time in the long run. We're gonna say, now write up a plan for what you're gonna build, list the features, the layout, and how the math will work. Don't write any code yet, because a plan is how we're going to build it. A spec is what we're going to build. So we need it to make a plan. This isn't 100% necessary. Like, you could get away with skipping this part, but it's the moment to catch mistakes before they're baked into the code. All right, it's done our plan, and I don't want to scare you about being worried that once it's baked into the code, it's like stuck there. You can absolutely edit and have it change things. Like, we're going to do that, but it's a lot easier for you to read through this than it is to look into the code and try to figure out what the code is saying. So understanding the way that the math works here is going to be a lot easier, and you can double check the math to make sure that this is accurate for your company versus having to dig into the code files and figure that out. So that's why we're having it plan out here and give us this very explicit plan. And my Claude even says it here, if you want to tweak the headline copy, the default values, or any of the math constants before I start, now is the cheapest time. It's just gonna be easiest if you do it here than if you do it later. But for me, it looks good. I'm gonna say, okay, build it. Now I'm gonna open up the files over here, and we have our Claude.md file, and I'm curious to see what other files it creates. It's gonna create an HTML file. It might create a CSS file as well. All right, and just like that, we have it built. Mine's gonna look very different from yours, I'm sure, but here is mine. I like some things about it. I don't like some other things. The default logo they built, not so great, but you know, it's fine. But yeah, we can see that this is working. It's animated. So those numbers animate up and down. They don't just, kind of pop. This is looking really great. That's interesting that that one doesn't work for me. I'm gonna talk to it about that one for me. But yeah, everything else is looking really great. Let's see if this changes. Yep, that seems to change. So I'm gonna tell it the field doesn't have an effect on the overall number. I'm gonna say the active cross-functional projects per month field doesn't have an effect on the overall number. I'm gonna have it drop the input entirely. It's saying, yep, that was planned, but it's confusing. So I'm going to drop it. So we should see this disappear in a few moments. And it's gone. Great. But it should be fixing the rest soon. Because, we don't want $0. There we go. And that's looking great again. So it went through, cleaned up all the code that it needed to get rid of that part. And now we are back in business. This is looking fantastic. So there we go. That is a working calculator, branded, interactive, ready to put on a website. And we got here by having a conversation, right? But before we celebrate, there's one habit I want you to build right now, especially with something like a calculator here. Don't just eyeball this and assume it works. Tell Claude to test its own work. I'm saying check the calculator, try setting team size to 0, try a really big team, all these kinds of things. Then walk me through one example calculation step by step so I can verify that the math is right. So I'm having it test its own code. Okay, it's asking me for permission to run this file, and I'm gonna say always allow. And yes, I'm gonna let it do a preview start. So I'm gonna say always allow for this as well. And allow, it's just gonna run it on a local server to test against. So it's not just going to kind of think it through, it's actually going to go ahead and start moving things around like you just saw. All right, it says the math checks out, and it is assuming 52 working weeks, but hours reclaimed calc assumes only 50 working weeks. So this is just, some details, but you can see that it went ahead and checked its own work, and we are set. This is something that most people skip, and it's the difference between a demo and a real tool. Like you would ask a developer on your team to test their work before shipping it. Definitely do the same thing here. Now here's where it gets fun. You get to kind of direct this thing like you would with a designer or a developer on your team, except this one, is just gonna do it for you within like a minute. So I wanna tell it to point this book a demo towards a certain page. So I say, make the book a demo CTA point to gridwell.com/demo, because right now it just doesn't do anything. All right, now if we check it out, there we go, link to Gridwell is blocked. Only supports localhost. So now it is working. Gridwell.com is what comes up. And if we go and open up our Finder, we see that we have this index.html file. And you can go ahead and open that. And there is our website, or our calculator. And if I click book a demo, that opens up this gridwell.com/demo page that doesn't exist because this isn't, really our site. But that worked well, and you can continue to say start free trial should point to /trial. And just like that, we have /trial, another 404, but it is working exactly how I want it to. So now that we have a real working HTML file, this is a real working web page, we want to deploy it because right now it is local. This should say something like users, my name, desktop, whatever. This is not a file that you can send to anyone yet. Well, you can send the file to someone, but you can't send this URL to them because it's a local file. So we're about to deploy it, but I just really want to stress that you built a real piece of your marketing toolkit. It's like not a Google Doc, it's not a slide deck. It's a working tool. It's a real calculator. That's what Claude Code is for. So now we're going to deploy this page in the simplest way that I know how, which is at Netlify. Netlify.com, and go ahead and sign up for an account. It is free. You don't have to pay for anything. We're going to be using the free plan. And go ahead and once you're logged in, at the bottom of the page, you should see this "Want to deploy a new project?" Drag and drop your folder here. Or you can go to app.netlify.com/drop, and this is Netlify Drop. It is an awesome, awesome feature. So we're going to go ahead and grab our index.html file and drop it right there. It says uploading. Please don't refresh. This should be very quick. And there we go. We have, so mine is called Bright Phoenix, and then all these numbers and letters. Don't worry, we're going to rename it to something soon. Yours is going to be some random phrase, but I'm going to click on that green link there. And there we go. Now it's brightphoenix.netlify.app. And this is a live website that I can send to anyone. So let's go ahead and change that name right now. I'm going to go to project configuration right here. And then I'm going to scroll down and choose change project name. And then get rid of Bright Phoenix. I'm going to put in Gridwell ROI. Just like that. You put in something that works for you. It has to be unique, so you can't just put in like calculator because it's going to be taken. But I'm going to put in Gridwell ROI. And now, if I go to Gridwell ROI.netlify.app, that looks a lot better to send to somebody rather than all that, Bright Phoenix stuff. So now we have a live website just like that. And if you ever want to do any kind of updates to it, I'll show you right here in project overview. You can go ahead and drag and drop your project folder here to deploy new changes. So if I ever want to change something, I'll change it, grab the file, drop it in there, and it will publish it again for me. Your calculator is now at a real URL. You can put in an email, a LinkedIn post, or a sales deck. Took like, 10 seconds to upload it. So let's recap the pattern you just learned. Let's memorize this because it works for almost anything you're going to want to build. Congratulations, you went from downloading the Claude desktop app to building and deploying a working ROI calculator. And you can do this with lots of different projects that are around this kind of a size where you would have otherwise had to wait for a developer to step in, and you have a ticket that's just, waiting, and you've got weeks and months maybe to wait on that. No, you can step in and grab Claude Code and get to work right now. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and comment below and let us know that this content was useful to you and what else you want me to build with you.